David in Agora Hills, California, listening on Sirius XM. Hey, David, what's on your mind?
Hi, Tom. Just switching off to go off Bluetooth. Can you hear me okay?
Sure, just fine.
Great. Thanks. It's an honor and a privilege to speak to you. I'm a professor of graduate studies at a conservative university, and I teach CEO strategy and other courses. And recently, in one of my lectures, I used much of your history of corporations to educate my students, and they found it very interesting that what has gone on in the history of this country with corporations.
Oh, thank you. You're talking about the stuff that's in my book, Unequal Protection?
Correct. And
yeah.
I had read several of those chapters and then titrated it down or brought it down into a shorter lecture set. So
cool.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I'm one of those old school Eisenhower Republicans, extremely liberal and progressive. And at this point in time, it's always interesting and exciting to look at the political spectrum and try to both educate individuals. I'm an avid reader, policy and political wonk, and do a lot of blogging and writing about policy and I'm just fascinated with the current state of clearly of the GOP and Republican Party, the party that I identify with to some degree, but with much reservation. Mm-hmm. And clearly the current presumptive nominee is incredibly bizarre. One of the things I'm astounded with the lack of press is basically asking simple questions of both, Bernie, Hillary, and Donald regarding what is the role of government and what is the role of private sector, and to see what their answers would be, and also why and when and all the other W's.
Right.
I don't think Donald Trump could clearly articulate what the role of government is.
No, I don't think so either. And excuse me. Go ahead, David.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. In fact, I think that's one of the real problems that the Republican Party has now, is that they've got a businessman, running for president of the United States.
Maximizing shareholder wealth or stakeholder wealth is not the part of the comments, as you clearly articulated.
Yeah. There's a clear difference. I'm curious, as a relatively progressive Republican, which is, my father always described himself as a conservative Republican, but he also described himself as an Eisenhower Republican, and or maybe Nixon. Well, he called himself an Eisenhower Republican, but he was all for Richard Nixon until the bad stuff came out. But I think today he would be. He passed away a little less than a decade ago, but I think today he would be pretty horrified by in fact, actually, I think it was exactly a decade ago this year, by what's going on. How do you, and a friend of mine, a neighbor of mine, kind of proudly proclaims that he's been a Republican his whole life and he's going to hang on to it, damn it, just to upset them. But he's having a hard time voting for them.
I don't vote for Republicans anymore, unfortunately, for the Republican Party. That I stay in the Republican Party to try to sway other Republicans to have some credibility in discussion. Plus, in my business pursuits, there's no one in my businesses that are Democrats, so I can't have any credibility as a Democrat. I wouldn't get any traction in business. Interesting. But I push very hard for a progressive agenda, and I'm very proud of Bernie for running a spectacular campaign. Yeah. Although I'm 99.9% probable that Hillary will win the nomination. And I think she's very much like an Eisenhower Republican. There are many areas where she's more conservative than I, but overall I think she's a safe and sane vote, and obviously incredibly intelligent, and surrounds herself with a great group of brilliant minds. So that's what I'm very much a Hillary supporter.
With regard to government.
I myself Obamacan. I'm a Republican who supports Obama. So
interesting.
He's very Republican as well.
Yeah.
To me, he's not very progressive. He's a little, to me, slightly right of center, sometimes slightly left of center. But he is, a true corporatist.
Well, I think what's happened is that the Democratic Party in the last 20 years has become the old Republican Party, and the Republican Party has become the old states' rights party.
Or John Birch Society, exactly.
Yeah, and it's been a difficult change, shall we say. But hopefully both parties will gain some rationality. And David, it's always nice to hear from a sane Republican. Thank you very much for calling in. Thanks for listening to Sirius XM.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.